How you doing, YouTubers? This is Galen. I know it's been a while since I've made a video. It's been almost some years. It's just been a lot going on. Um, I just wanted to give everybody an update what's been going on. So I started my own freight broker company back in June of 2021. I started my own freight broker business. Um, Dedicated Logistics Group is the name of the company. I um, I started. The FMCSA activated me July 25th. I moved my first load July 27th. Um, so that's been going good. And then used to be a driver and sitting in that office just wasn't doing it. Like I said, I'm still gonna do it, but just sitting in the office was me. Driving is in my blood. So I talked to the wife. We talked it over and everything, and I told her I want to drive. And basically, she was like, no more going over the road. We got a 6-year old. So, I was like, all right. So I said to myself, what would be the next best thing as far as driving? And here in El Paso, that's where I'm at. If you look behind me, you see the mountains. Um, Here in El Paso, day cab work isn't a lot. El Paso is kind of isolated from the rest of the world. Um, uh, like it's 6 hours to get to Phoenix, Arizona, and it's 5 hours, and then it's another 7 hours, 8 hours to get to San Antonio, 10 to get to Dallas, and so on and so on. So it's kind of like El Paso, and then 300, 400 miles before 300 miles before you get to the next major city. So day cab local work wasn't really it. So I looked into construction and I looked into that, and then one day I saw a dump truck. I was like, hey, always wanted to drive one, always wanted to do that. So I said, all right, I want to, get a dump truck. So this was probably about November, December. Freight broker company going good, got good customers, paying good, pay is good. So I told myself, I said, all right, I'm gonna get a dump truck. So I started looking at the market, and let me tell you, dump trucks are expensive. I'm talking about used, you're looking at $60,000, $70,000. So I looked, and Facebook had one, and I went. My first place was in San Antonio, and it was a '95 Kenworth, probably about with a 12-foot dump, everything, tandem. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and check that one out. It looks real good. So I took a flight, that week, talked to the owner, and one thing I've learned with dump trucks is just about everybody says, "Oh man, my truck is ready. My truck is ready. It's ready to go. It's ready to work. It's ready to work." That's not all the time. All right, I'm gonna be honest with you. That's not true most of the time. So I went, took the flight, caught an Uber, 30-minute drive from the airport to the dump. Oh man, I got to that truck, and they had a mechanic, and he was looking at me like, this isn't a good idea. I mean, there was exhaust coming out the dipstick, the lights didn't want to work, so on and so on. So I was like, all right, what am I gonna do? So I looked online. I had a number two. I had a number two that I was like, all right, I have to look at this truck. So I talked to the owner, and he had it for like 21,000. Talked to him earlier that week. He was like, hey, I can do 19. So then I called them up. I asked him for his number, called them up, and I said, look, sir, I got $18,000 cash. I can come to you and let me see the truck. And let me, and if it's good, let it be that rate. And he was like, okay, if you got $18,000 cash, and then of course, he told me, hey, this is a ready to work truck. I just worked it yesterday, so on and so on. I was like, all right. So this was in Beaumont, Texas, which was like 4 hours away from San Antonio. So I had to get a rental car from San Antonio and drive it over. So then after that, I'm in this rental car, and I'm just like, oh man, this is a long. And then the guy gave me the VIN number, and I saw it, and I was like, oh no, this is an 86. And I was like, it's kind of funny because I was born in 1986. So it was a 86 Freightliner Classic. I'm going to show you here in a minute. And I got to the bank, got the 18,000 out, everything, and I was like, all right, is this worth it? And I was just like, and then I was, I called around the city, and I kind of saw what the rate was. I was like, all right, and I just didn't want to have a note. I didn't want to have a $2,000, $3,000 note, and I never been in the industry, so I met the guy, cool, nice older guy, and he told me, hey, the biggest thing is the piston. The piston is leaking oil like crazy. It worked, but you got to keep filling up the back, and the piston's just leaking and leaking. And that was like the first thing he showed me. He lifted the bed up, and it just was raining oil. I mean, raining oil. I was like, oh no. And I was just always scared it's just gonna fall. So we turned the truck on, sound good. There was no knocking, there was nothing shaking and everything. And we walked around and stuff. And like I said, I'm not a mechanic. I didn't have a mechanic with me, but I was just trying to visibly see what was wrong. I knew it was an older truck, so I didn't expect it to be, like, oh, this is a pretty over the road truck. So I went and I checked the engine. There was nothing really leaking. There was a little leak on the top, but the only thing it needed was the cap just needed to be tightened. So that was it. And I mean, it just, I was like, okay, now let's take it for a trip. Jumped in, and because, I've looked at other YouTubers, and one guy that I follow, his name is Brian. He told me, he's like, hey, I bought an $8,000 truck, and I didn't do a test drive. So I told myself, I'm going to do a test drive. I'm going to make sure I do a test drive. So I jumped in the truck, took it down, drives real good, sounds real good because no muffler, straight, it's a Cummins 400. Like I said, I know I'm not mechanically, I'm mechanically inclined as far as I can change this. I don't mind turning some screws. I can kind of put two and two together and say, okay, hey, this goes with that. So I kind of got my, my limits though on what I can do. So I, took it for a test drive. And I mean, it drove good. The brakes reacted good. Everything reacted good. It wasn't LED lights on the inside and stuff, but it worked. So, sat down. I mean, we were together for like 3 hours. And then I told him, hey, I take it. It's 18,000. It's a Freightliner Classic. It like I said, I knew it needed some work, but like I said, I didn't want to, I wasn't rushing, but then I was like, okay, this is a good running truck. Something else around this price is going to need a lot more work, so on and so on. So I'm going to go ahead and show you the truck real quick. All right, so this is my Freightliner Classic. I'm here at the shop now with my tech. All right, I still got his name on the side. Right now, I'm going to tell y'all some stuff, what to look out for when you get a truck this old. And I'm gonna tell you some of the work I've done. Like I said, there's still some work that needs to be done. It's a brand new hood. That's what he told me. He got in an accident in the previous hood, so this is a used hood. But yeah, and it has a 16 foot bed, tandem. Like I said, this is just how it is. Now, what we're working on is the suspension. One thing that I saw that when I bought it here, because I drove it, Beaumont, Texas to here, 900 miles. Didn't have no problems, I mean, I didn't break down. I didn't have trouble starting it, anything. So I got it back to El Paso after 900 miles. It snowed, and the snow did something to the truck. Like, it did something to these air lines and brake lines and stuff. It did some damage. It was 20 degrees here in El Paso, and it's never like that. So I had to jump start the truck using the car. But outside of that, the suspension was just gone. The truck was being held on just by parts. What I tell people, what I'm gonna tell people is, when you get your old, you get a truck this old, check out the suspension. I'm gonna show something that my mechanic showed me, and I was just like, wow, okay, this is really what was up there. Let me see where it is. Okay, let me show. All right, these are the U-bolts. They're in the dirt right now, but these are the U-bolts that was holding the suspension together, the leaf springs. So that was it. It was just like that. When they unscrewed it, it came apart. Let me see what else. This is a rod that I had to purchase. I had to buy this. If you see, it's not a perfect circle. Then this, if you look, this goes in here like this. All right, but you see how it look? You know, this was what was on my truck. This is what was holding my truck together. Let me see what else. We got some other stuff on the other side. Oh, and then this was what was holding the U-boats. It's supposed to be way thicker than this. I had one made. You know, there's a shop here that makes them, but the right way. So, but this is what the U-boats was being held on by. So that's not right. And then here's another one. You know, so, but I had to buy a whole new suspension. If you see, oh, then this is what they call the equalizer. You know, don't let me, like I said, I'm not gonna say it like I know, but this was all messed up. And I was lucky. And then here's the new one. All right, new equalizer, new leaf springs. The hanger in the front was good, so I didn't have, but the hanger in the back, you know, I see one thing that a lot of guys with older trucks, they weld a lot of stuff on. So like the hanger in the back is welded on, but my tech guy is gonna, take that off and put it back on, the new one.